I love, I work with and for people I really like, and I'm earning good money. Now, you don't have to have a specific job, but under that banner, a lot of good could come into your life.
I am passionate about life. I love myself. I am well. And then I bet you I said it 300 or 400 times a day to get over the fear of having cancer. And I believe that not only saying it, but actually believing it.
The affirmations is just the starting point. That's like going, okay, here's where the goal is. What really gives those affirmations power is the emotion we put behind it. So what's interesting is you start out the journey going, okay, let me start here. Step one is what's the affirmation? Step two is, you know, how can I generate the emotional power behind that affirmation? And a lot of that comes from taking actions to support that affirmation. That's how you begin to step into that state. And then as you step into that state and you take actions and you put the emotional power behind those affirmations, they begin to manifest themselves in your life.
It's got to get anchored into your, not only your mind, but in your spirit, and you have to believe it. And when you're first doing it, it feels fake. It feels silly. But after a while, you start to realize, yeah, you know, that's right. Yeah.
What I like people to do is to stand in front of a mirror and do their affirmations. Because there's something very powerful about looking in your own eyes and accepting yourself, or noticing that you reject yourself when you're saying something positive about yourself.
Driving to work, when I first read Louise, she said, you know, that you should 20,000 times a day, or every time you have a negative thought, just, I love and approve of myself. You know, just replace it with that. For the longest time, I love and I couldn't think of the other word. It was like, why can't I remember such a simple word?
It's like planting a seed in the ground. It's not necessarily true at the moment, but it is something you want to have be true. So you put the seed in, and you expect it to grow. You don't wait for 2 days and then dig in the earth and say, what's happening, what's happening? You expect that thing to grow because you know there's a law and a process. And the seed will grow if it is in the right soil and it has the right amount of moisture.
And many people are finding out about how literal this language is in very interesting ways. I hear people say that they want a perfect relationship, or they want abundance in their lives. And they say it with an air as if they have just put that manifestation out there and they're going to get it pretty quickly. And then I see them a year later and it still hasn't happened, and a couple years later it still hasn't happened. The field is literal. The divine matrix is literal. So when you say, I want this to happen in my life, the field says, okay, and I'll let you want and want and want, because there's no outcome. It's an open-ended proposition.
It is like a computer. If you have this gorgeous computer put in front of you and you don't know what to do with it, it's a piece of junk. But if you learn the language of the computer, miracles happen.
When I left corporations, early 1990s, I found myself in the high deserts of northern New Mexico, where I live today. A beautiful part of the world, and during that time it was one of the worst droughts in recorded history in the American desert Southwest. And a native friend called me one day and he said, Greg, would you like to join me at a place, and I love this language, he said, a place where the skin between the worlds is really thin, to pray rain. And he didn't have to ask me twice. I said, you bet. So we met at an agreed location. We hiked 135,000 acres of the most beautiful high desert sage. We came to a stone circle that had been there for so long, he didn't even know who had placed the stones there before him. And I wasn't prepared for what I saw, because my friend David took his old work shoes off. He put his naked feet inside of this circle. And he closed his eyes, and the first thing he did was he honored all of his ancestors. He literally said the words. He said, all of my ancestors are with me now, or with me now. About 20 seconds later, he looked at me and he said, I'm hungry. You want to go get a bite to eat? And I said, well, sure, but I said, I thought you were going to pray for rain. And he looked at me and he said, no. He said, if I prayed for rain, rain could never happen. Because the moment we pray for something to occur, we've just implied, we've acknowledged it's not there now, and we may be empowering the very condition that we'd like to change. And I said, if you didn't just pray for rain in those 20 seconds, what did you do? And he said, when I closed my eyes, he said, I felt the feeling of what it feels like to stand with my feet naked in the mud in our Pueblo village, and the mud's there because there's been so much rain. And he said, I smelled the smells of what it smells like when the rain falls off the earthen walls of our Pueblo village. And I felt the feeling of what it feels like to run through the fields of corn, and the corn is there and it's so high because there's been so much rain. He said, I gave thanks of gratitude and appreciation for the rain that's already happened.
When you speak an affirmation, even though at first when you speak the affirmation you may not believe it, in time, as you speak it, you come into the allowing of it. And of course there are many people speaking affirmations who are not receiving what they are speaking because they're using words and wanting the words to make it so. But the universe does not respond to your words. The universe responds to your vibration. And your emotions indicate what your vibration is.
Affirmations are magnified if we use them in our dream state, because at that moment the ego is asleep, the logical mind is resting, and therefore you have a perfect opportunity to program your future. You program your mind with these positive affirmations. Our dreams are there to resolve conflicts between the conscious and the unconscious, and they're there to regulate our moods. But what if you went to sleep believing that all is well, you are safe, everything will appear at the right time when it's supposed to?
That too, that the decade you are in at the moment is the best decade of your life so far. If I can do it, you can do it.
I was a high school dropout, had never studied anything, suddenly became fascinated with this idea that if I could change my thinking, I could change my life, and I started to study, and I couldn't stop. I did lots of classes, lots of books, all sorts of things, so I could begin to understand how this works. And at the end of 3 years, I was eligible to become what they called in the church a licensed practitioner, which gave me the opportunity to work one-on-one with other people. And that's, I think, when the changes really started to happen, because I began to teach other people how to do this, and how to change their thinking so they could change their life. People were getting good results working with me, and then I started teaching classes, and those turned out very well. And the next thing I knew, I was doing weekend workshops for 350 people. So one of the things I began to really notice was what people said, how they said it, and what was wrong in their body. And I started to put things together, and I really trained my mind to listen to what people said. I put a list together for my own use with clients, and I alphabetized it, so if you came in